Good to go. Accepted?
Yes.
Accepted.
All right, here we go with some more Linchpin member interviews. I've got Dawn and Jeanne here. So I've never had two people interviewed at once. This is a great way to do it. So maybe give everybody a little bit of background on each of you, starting with how do you two know each other?
We are sisters.
Okay.
I'm the older, but by 18 months, so we're real close in age.
Okay. And who was one the athlete growing up and one not the athlete, or were you both athletic? How'd it go?
We both were in athletics. I
Yep.
would say I was a very average junior varsity basketball player and cross country runner in high school. And yeah, I mean, I kind of dabbled in a bunch of things when I was in middle school, but those were my high school sports.
Okay.
And I played softball and swam.
Oh, okay. So
So
different
we
sports.
different sports. We each tried each other's sports. That didn't go very well. So we went back to our own sports.
Yes.
Was that intentional or is that how it worked out? Because, for example, I've got three kids. I got two older boys and a little girl. My two older boys, they play similar sports, and sometimes I wish that they didn't because they wouldn't like
Mhm.
bicker and compete with each other. I wish they had their own separate things. So
Yep.
did it work out naturally that you were in separate stuff, or was that something which you were kind of forced into?
Well, I think I tried swimming because she was always a swimmer, very good. So I was like, oh, I think I'll swim. And then I joined the swim team in like seventh grade, and I was a terrible swimmer. I'm like, this is a terrible sport. I'm not going to do this anymore. And I think I did play softball one season too, and
Yeah.
I was okay at it. But
But
yeah,
it was back in the day when you could play every sport that you wanted to, right?
Oh,
yeah,
So you could
right?
try anything. So like we all tried a lot of
everything.
things, which
Yeah, I was
was
gonna say,
really
so I'm not
which was
crazy.
fun.
So you've both got kids. One has three and one has two, correct?
Yep.
Mhm.
And how old are your kids now?
Mine are 16. I have a son who's 16 and a daughter who's 20.
Okay,
And
okay,
mine are 25, 22, and 20.
okay. So I'm not crazy, right? Because the way that I see kids' sports right now, I don't want to be that person. It's like, well, back when I was young, but it does seem like kids' sports have changed
Yep. Totally.
like incredibly. Like, they're not even any sort of a reflection of what they used to be. When I was a kid, I think I was never a good athlete at like classic ball sports and stuff, but I played Little League, and all Little League
Yep.
was you get a t-shirt from like Frankie's Pizza or whoever happened to like sponsor it, and then
Yep.
you just go mess around for a bit. And there was no like travel leagues and tournaments and
Mhm.
just like
Yeah, it gets to be much. My son played soccer for a long time, and I mean like 10 years worth. And my daughter too swam year round, and there was no option to like really try anything else because it all interfered. Parents couldn't get your kids to multiple sports, and every coach expects you to participate 100%. And when you're practicing 11 months out of the year, you can't say, oh, well, I have baseball, I'm going to miss soccer. That doesn't really go very well.
bingo. Yes, and it
No.
seems to me like the seasons just keep getting longer, and so they
Yeah.
all overlap, like you're saying, then you have to choose. But I think most people know that if you have the opportunity to if they have the interest, if your child to play like multiple sports, that's probably wonderful for their athletic development. But yet, I think everyone says like that's nice, but then none of the coaches really want you to do that. Like it's
Right.
just,
Yeah.
Well, it depends if the parents want it more than the kid.
well, sports
So,
parents are totally sane, rational, logical people that
yeah,
are always calm during the
sure,
games and
sure.
don't take anything too seriously. And like,
Yeah.
again, I just don't know if I'm misremembering history, but
No, I think you're right.
I
Mhm.
don't remember like playing Little League or doing whatever and seeing like parents fighting in the stands or like yelling obscenities at the umpires.
Nope.
Yeah. And
No.
we didn't really have travel sports
No.
either. It wasn't an
Mm-mm.
option, and we wouldn't have been able to afford it anyways. And you have to spend a lot of money if you're going to have your kids be in travel sports. It's a big financial sacrifice, and back in the day, I don't think it existed even
No.
really.
Mm-mm.
So,
No,
Summer
agreed.
camps. Summer
yeah, summer
camps.
camps. Did a lot of summer like week-long camps at
Yep.
the college, for basketball and whatnot, but there wasn't this, oh, hey, I'm flying to California to play in a soccer tournament.
It's funny that you say that because so as we record this weekend, I'll be home with the little girl and our oldest son because my wife Emily has to take our middle son Nash to a basketball tournament. It's in Portland. So luckily that's just like a 3 hour drive from where we are here in Washington State.
Mhm.
But a week or two after that, there's a weekend tournament in California. And I remember I was saying to her, like, what, it's so bizarre to me that for a kids basketball team, like they expect parents to buy flights and hotels and rental cars and lodging just to go down. Why can't we play basketball here for free?
Right.
Like,
My oldest, my 25-year-old played t-ball, baseball, and then played traveling. And then when he got to high school, he had to decide if he was going to play on the high school team. And their tryouts were over spring break. And so he was told that if he gave up his spring break to play, then he could try out. Otherwise, if he was going on a vacation with his family, he wouldn't be able to play. So he didn't play because vacation with the family. And that year he played rec ball. So there were 4 local teams and all these kids that decided not to play high school. There were 4 local teams with the t-shirts. And
mhm.
it was one of the best seasons we've ever had because they all were friends and they all kept playing against each other and they had like 2 games a week. And that was it. It was so fun.
I was
It
gonna
was so
say, and
fun.
they're probably just having fun, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just, it almost seems like that's
Yeah.
lacking, not to get off topic, like that's so
Yeah.
lacking these days. Like the pressure that's put on these
Yeah.
kids. I don't know if it's Instagram or social media, but I think all of them have lied to themselves and they think they're like going
Mhm.
D1, when it's like
Yeah.
half of 1% like is actually what's going D1. And all their
Right.
parents are also convinced that they're going D1. Like
Correct.
there's like a mind virus happening in both the parents and the kids, and it
Yeah.
sucks all the fun out of
Right.
the whole thing because it's like it's just this high pressure evolution. Every missed shot is the end of the world. And in my mind, I'm like,
Right.
you're not gonna get a college scholarship to play
Mhm.
basketball. I don't know what you're
Mhm.
so stressed out about. You might as well just have fun, like,
Yeah.
and focus on your studies because you won't be paying your bills with basketball.
Right. Right. True.
Maybe
Yeah.
you should study.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, put as much focus and pressure as you're putting on this missed basketball shot into your mathematics class, your
Right.
science class, like that. And I know it's not as fun, but 20 years from now, I bet you'll be pretty darn happy,
Yep. Yeah.
Anyway, a
And
total,
we grew up in a very big hunting and fishing family. And so that was a big part of our life too.
okay,
Um,
being outdoors.
so being, I did many duck hunting trips with my dad and that was weekends. So if you were in traveling sports, that type of thing would have never happened.
Oh yeah,
So,
again, we could stay on this for. I mean, it's also
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's also the removal. I can only speak for America. I don't know if people around the world will relate if it's the same. Kids sports are the same out there, but it's made it almost impossible to have any family time because your time used to
Right.
be on the weekends, and
Right.
it still potentially could be if the kids' sports on the weekends was a game, but it's not
Right.
a game. It's like
Yeah.
every weekend's a tournament where there's 2 or 3 games on Saturday, 2 or 3 games on Sunday, sometimes at different locations. So even when you're not at the game, you're running around to the next location,
Yeah.
and you get home and you got to get up the next day and do it again, and suddenly it's Monday again.
Yeah. And you're dragging there's other kids with you to somebody else's game. So, we did swim meets in Northern Virginia, drive to Richmond every other weekend. And my son, who only swam one season, he got drug and he sat in the pool watching boring swim meets that literally last all day. Yeah, you know how that goes. So, I mean, it's just a challenge and everybody else is doing the same thing, dragging their kids to all the other sporting events. And it's a challenge. So I'm sort of thankful to almost be out of it, but I mean, you kind of miss it a little bit, like with my daughter who's in college, but it was such a rat race. It's just hard to keep up.
Yeah,
and
there's
yet
a middle
there's
ground.
the other side to it. The kids learn so many great life lessons playing sports. And some
Right.
of my
Agreed.
kids' closest mentors are from their coaches and the other parents on the team. So there's some really great things that come out of
Yeah,
sports too.
agree.
Yeah.
Fully agree. It's like I wish it could just be ratcheted down 35%.
That
Yep.
would be great.
That would be that would
That
be
would be amazing.
but
Yeah.
it is what it is. So between the
Yeah.
two of you, which one found CrossFit first?
I did.
Dawn did it. Okay, okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, and you, when we were, chatting before setting up the interview and whatnot, this is when you said uh you started way back in 2012
Yep.
with some sort of crazy schedule, right? I'm trying to see if I have some notes. So didn't you like get up at like really early in the morning and have to get a babysitter? What's the story behind that?
Well, my husband was active duty at the time, and we were stationed like just like right near Quantico, Virginia,
Yep.
and he was working at the Pentagon. So in order to beat traffic, he would leave at like 4:30 in the morning. And my kids, when I started CrossFit, were 4 and 8. And I was, I was getting ready to turn 40 and just, running the rat race of 4 and 8-year-old and him being gone, 14 hours a day and traffic and all the things. And I wasn't really exercising or doing any sort of fitness, and just sort of like at my wit's end said, I'm
Sounds stressful.
totally stressful. I mean, that was a really not great, it was a challenge. Let's just put it that way. I mean, he's, Northern Virginia, the Pentagon, he's active duty. So,
But then you
and-
hired sitters.
yeah,
in the
so
morning.
that's what I did, that out of desperation. And my husband was super supportive, and he was like, whatever you need to do to preserve your sanity, I'm all for it. Right. So I had a neighbor gal who was in high school, and I literally paid her $20 a day, because my membership at this gym was only like $105 a month for a CrossFit gym, which was
Okay.
amazing. It was owned by 4 Marines. So they had a huge military discount. And so I would pay her $20 a day, 4 days a week, to literally come to my house at 5:30 and sit in my living room and watch my kids sleep, so I could go to class and come home, and then she would leave, and then I could start my day. I was only working part-time. So
That's
yeah.
incredible. I've heard a lot of getting up early to get in workouts. I've heard of, use of babysitters or whatever, but I don't think I've ever heard of the babysitter at 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah, she was so happy she didn't have to do anything, I mean,
Oh, sure.
yeah, I mean, it was like, how are we going to make this work? And there was no way that my husband could stay home, and there was no way that I could do it during the day because they had school or preschool or whatnot, and after school was running around to all the sports. Even as a 4-year-old, my son's in this like soccer thing, for 4-year-olds, and then you're sitting in traffic after work, and I mean, there was no other time. So I mean, that was majority of my CrossFit days, I would say, have been early mornings, just because that's how it works. But
So you get into it, then you get super creative with a very motivated babysitter looking to make some easy money, and it
Yeah.
works. It fits.
Yep.
It fits your crazy life, and you're happy, and
yeah,
your husband's happy that you're happy, and all that good
yes,
stuff there. And I
yes.
assume is it safe to assume that at that time, did you start telling Jeanne about it, or
Yeah,
were
I mean, I could probably start
Yeah.
talking about it right away, because I'm like, you gotta try this CrossFit thing. Like,
No,
people
no
that-
way. I said no way. But she would come to visit me in Minnesota, and she would drop in at a local box, and then she would come home, and it was female owned, and she's like, you should go to this. No way, no
Yeah.
way. So it took me about 2 years.
and what
Um,
was out of curiosity, we've all had our own no way, but what was your no way? Why was it such a firm, not trying that stuff?
Because it looked crazy.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah.
I mean, it was like, I carrying sandbags and flipping tires, and I was like,
Right.
no way. I just wasn't into it. I had done a lot of global gyms. I had done a lot of at the Y, because they had daycare when my kids were little,
Oh,
which
nice.
was out of necessity, right? Fit the bill, but I wasn't gonna do this crazy business. So
yeah,
and then I broke.
Eventually, eventually you broke. You said that you were recovering from meniscus surgery and you
Mhm.
weren't making progress. Was that
Yeah,
meniscus
I was
surgery
walking
just
around the
life?
track.
Was that from working out?
Yeah, well, I was walking around the track at the global gym, and my knee gave out and tore my meniscus. So it wasn't
Oh,
a
no
great story.
kidding.
You wish you were like
lifting
Right.
heavy or something.
parasailing.
Right.
So then I had surgery, and I just could not get my knee to recover. And Don kept saying, you need to go to CrossFit. It'll strengthen your knee.
I
And
know, I kept trying to drag her when I would come back to Minnesota, and I'm like, just drop in with me. It'll be fun. It was a really great gym that was super great with beginners and all levels. And she wouldn't
Yeah.
do it. So
then I did go through a period of like chronic fatigue and some adrenal issues, and I was really trying to take care of myself. And then this knee happened. And so then I went and did a onboarding at this gym and loved it, never left.
At that time, you might have said it, Dawn, had you moved back to Minnesota or not?
Mm-mm.
Not quite yet?
no, this was well, I started in 2012. I think you started 2014, and
Right.
we didn't move back to Minnesota till 2017.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so soon
Yeah.
thereafter. I'm curious, Jean, as I've heard this before, the chronic fatigue syndrome, what was, any sense looking back on it, what led to it? What
Mhm.
was your first inkling that something wasn't right? And then did you did you overcome it? Is it something that can be overcome? I'm actually a little bit
Yeah.
ignorant of it.
Yeah. I would say for me, I had 3 kids under 5. That that is a lot.
Yes.
We were really busy. I wasn't necessarily taking great care of myself. And I think things just got caught up with me. I mean, I just um got to a point where I had to make a decision, and my husband said to me, we either got to get control of this or we've got to figure something out.
Well, and you had your Tyson, who her youngest son, who's born within 6 weeks of my daughter. We had babies together too, so he didn't sleep.
You're right.
So
Oh, that's
that was
helpful.
like, yeah, that was not helpful. I remember her calling me just saying, I don't know what to do with this kid because, and my daughter was sleeping through the night, at like 10 weeks. And so you don't want to say, oh, that's too bad. Like my kid's great. And she was my first and her third and last.
Oh,
And so I just remember her calling me just desperate for, I don't, just to someone to talk to because he didn't sleep for probably what, 18 months probably.
Yeah. So
oh
there
my
was that. So it's
goodness.
just, I think it's the perfect storm. And I think that happens with especially women. I think there are so many things that we're trying to balance. And I had to make a conscious decision. What was I going to say no to so that I could say yes to something else? And I think
Mhm.
for some of us, that's really hard to do. So
So
then
that
I started
initiative
CrossFit.
kind of
Yeah.
motivated you.
Right. Yep. Yep.
And
And
how,
we like being strong. That's the other thing. And so CrossFit, once I walked in the door, I was like, okay, I can do this.
and what do you
Yeah.
mean? That's a cool thing, maybe for some, especially women listening or watching. What do you mean by you like being strong? And did that phrase ever pop into your head, or were you even aware that that's something you would like previous to CrossFit? Because both of you were
Mhm.
working before CrossFit.
Right.
Mhm.
I think that, I mean, one of the things that I've been married 30 years this year, and one of the things
Congratulations.
thank you. It's been smooth sailing the whole time.
Not a bump in the road.
No,
Blissful always.
always. And I think one of the things my husband says to me is, I'm really glad I didn't marry a prissy girl, so that if I want to pick up a couch, I can pick up a couch. If I want to move a bed, I can do that, or lift the lawnmower into the back of the car because it has to get repaired. And that, I think that's just really important. I mean, our dad was really, really strong. And so that's just something that I like. I like being strong. Especially now, once there's barbells involved, that's my favorite kind.
Okay, very, very cool. And fully on board with, we've got a strong wife. My goal is to have our little girl grow up
Yep.
strong as well. That's
Yeah.
100%,
Right.
100% the goal. So then eventually, Dawn, you do move back, and now
Yeah.
you're within a couple miles of your sister.
Well, that was the lifetime goal, the 30-year goal, because I've been married 30 years too. So it was like, hey, because we were roommates in college and, we were always very close. And then I moved because of my husband's job, of course. And we're like, yeah, but we're going to be neighbors someday. So when the plan was to retire in Minnesota, despite the weather, I mean, I searched for 2 years for a house within a 2-mile radius of Jeannie. And so,
Oh, no kidding.
story short, this house became available and we're like, we're getting it, we're buying it. And so we just kind of packed up. We were really getting burned out on Northern Virginia. Just brutal. And I just said, we got to get out of here. Our kids were 4th and 8th grade at the time. So that wasn't easy for them by any means, but and so yeah, I forgot your original part of your
No,
question.
we
We moved back in
and now
2017.
did you start going to the same gym together, become workout buddies?
Yep.
Yeah, I joined she was at a, were you still at the athlete lab?
Yep.
She was at so I went to that gym and then we ended up switching gyms and then COVID hit. And I've always had a pretty hefty garage gym. It's a long story, but I just started accumulating stuff randomly for very inexpensive things. So we just kept piling it in the garage and when I was in Virginia, there was an 18-month span where I was in my garage with one of my very good friends, and we would work out in our garage. And so during COVID, then Jeannie and her husband and I would work out together, the three of us, and in the garage. And then we just kind of never went back to the gym scene, because by that point, then I was working full time, which I'd never done as a military spouse, like just couldn't do it. I was always part time, but now my kids were grown. And so because of the schedule, it was like, but getting to class and then getting your kid to sports, either in the morning or get them to school or get myself to work, it didn't work. So after stuff started opening up, I just stayed home and kind of dabbled in my gym for a long time till I found Linchpin.
And who, was it you, Jeannie? Was it Dawn? Like, what was you two were both working out on your own in your garage or whatnot? Were you just kind of picking stuff off the internet? Were you self-programming? What I guess was the path that eventually led you to Linchpin, which I'm obviously happy that you found it.
Sure. Well, I think
I was still at the gym because of just life, and Dawn was working out alone in her garage.
Okay.
Because I also have worked full time, and I had to work out in the morning, and she was working out after work.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think that's what was going on.
And so she was doing self-programming and just some other things.
I tried to self-program, and I think programming is super cool. It's just so time consuming that I'm like, okay, I just want somebody to tell me what to do and I'll do it. So I think there was a time when I was in Virginia in my garage. I think I mentioned this in the email that there was an old timey level 3 guy who lived in my neighborhood, and he programmed for his FBI agency. He's in the FBI. And I said, hey, how do I get on that email list? And he said, I'll put you on it. So he put me on it. And then I would print out, I was obsessed with it. I'd print out his program and I have them in binders in my garage, still like three binders. And the volume was ridiculous. It was the hardest programming I've ever done. Totally killed myself and my friend. And then I came home and I tried to do it again, back. And I just like, it was, I don't know.
Did you drag your sister into that death sentence as well?
Well, we tried, but it didn't, even when I was doing it before, we tried to repeat it, then he stopped programming, and then I would just like, hey, let's do this. And it's like, I don't know how it ever happened. It just was like, the older we got, the volume was ridiculous. And I was pretty fit and pretty strong, all things considered. Yeah. But it was, after a couple of years of that, it was not really maintainable.
Yeah.
So,
and Dawn is more self-motivated than I am. I have to have an accountability person. So whether that's at the gym or, like if I knew Dawn wasn't getting up at 5:15, I'm not sure I would get up at 5:15, but that's kind of the way it's always been.
Yep.
Right. So that just works for us. And in fact, she was trying to convince me, you should join Linchpin. I'm like, I don't know. And it was kind of in one of my downward swings. And so for like 3 weeks, and I was pretty out of shape. And so for like 3 weeks, she's like, everything is scalable. I'm like, but really?
Yeah.
Because I also have this competitive.
The word out there.
Yeah.
2017 was like my highlight reel, and made a couple competitions and did the Granite Games with some good friends. And
that's awesome.
And then it's hard to turn 50 and feel like scaling is okay. And so when Dawn started Linchpin, she was like, no, really, scaling is for real. Like, so it was hard.
All will one day.
Yeah.
And scaling for me is hard too, because I mean, up until, a few years ago, my attitude was just take the WOD and just, if you can do it, just do it. No matter how long it takes you, just get the work done. Right. So if Fran takes you 15 minutes, just do it, because you can do 95 or 65 pound thrusters and pull-ups. Right. But, and I get that too, to some degree, but, at some point you just we're still getting fit doing all the scaled stuff, right? Like every day we get together, we kind of figure out what she comes over in the morning, and we've already planned the week ahead of time.
She makes the coffee.
I make the coffee. And then we're like, okay, like Chief totally wrecked us. We both went like 100%, which never happens. I mean, we don't go 100% anymore. And I think we probably did that day. Maybe 95%. Yeah. I don't know what got into us, but we're like, we're going to burn this down. And we're paying
That was
for
a
it.
mistake.
It was a mistake because we're paying for it. So then
But big PRs, like
yeah.
I can remember in November, I did it in November, and I could not do a push-up
Okay.
off my knees even. And that was like the bottom of the barrel for me. I thought I have lost it all. So then
I shouldn't
so I
laugh
did it
about
off
that.
a box. And then, but this week when we did it, I was like, I'm going to try this off my knees. Now I haven't done a push-up probably since, like, I don't remember doing push-ups. And I was like, whoa. And
That's
I did them
awesome.
all off my knees unbroken. And so it kind of surprises you, which is what I like. So for me, I think 2017 Jeannie would be really disappointed that I wasn't doing real push-ups.
Mm-hmm.
2024 Jeannie celebrates the win of being able to see the progression from not being able to do it to doing it today. So it's a mind shift for me.
It is, and it's huge. And I mean, like I said, we're all going to the same finish line. You talked about doing your higher volume, crazy programming earlier, like, and I don't doubt for a second that if you were at a phase in your life where you could actually tolerate it,
Right.
it
Yeah.
probably led to some good
Yeah.
stuff, because but everybody can tolerate something like that if it lines up with the right age of their life, the right
Yes.
phase of their life, the right season of their life. But no one's doing that for decades. I
No.
don't know a single human being. So we're all going to the same point. It's just some of us learn it quicker than others. Like that's
Right.
it. Like, and then eventually it's a challenging mindset shift, but I also think it's really freeing when you actually do truly realize it's not just like an empty phrase. Like it really is okay. Like it really is
Mhm.
okay to scale modify.
Well, and
Like,
on
as long as
Monday,
you understand, what's the point of the workout, and
Mhm.
then how can I make it fit what I have going on? And that's
Right.
like mission success right there.
Right.
Well, and with the linchpin programming, with all the options, I just scroll through the options. And because we've been doing CrossFit for so long, what do you call it? The IQ, our fitness IQ,
Oh yeah.
I'm able to adapt it for
That's the
what I
trick.
know I'm going to be able to. So
Take a little bit sometimes from
Yeah.
RX and a little bit, if like the movement is handstand push-up, take that from the scaled and and move stuff around. And I mean, we're always breathing heavy at the end of the morning. So some days it's hard, like Monday was hard for me because that was the pull-ups, running, and thrusters. And I would
Oh,
really like to be able to get
cool.
back to doing like 55-pound thrusters regularly, which was what I was doing. And there after Chief, there was no way that was happening. And it was like, that's so lame. And I just have to remember, like, okay, next time when I'm not so wrecked from doing something, I probably should have scaled it a little bit better, but I didn't. So
Well, we're all a work in progress too, because I mean,
I
out of the 5 workouts a week, I for sure scale 2 out of the 5, like for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes 3. I mean, so like it is what it is because it's the smarter thing to do. Like,
Right.
I don't want to be a leaderboard hero just to say that I did prescribed and I tweak my shoulder. Like
Yeah.
that doesn't make any sense,
Right.
and kind of like what you said happened with you ladies during the Chief. Yesterday for the running thrusters and pull-up workout, I actually had it in my head as like, this is gonna be like, I know even at a moderate pace, this is gonna sting. Even at like, there's no reason to try to be a hero on this. And then for the reason I felt good during the warm-up and
No.
I went for it and I like thought I was gonna die at the end of it.
Yeah.
No, that's my intention. So what you experienced during the Chief, you like for whatever reason we just went after it. That
Yeah.
happened yesterday and I'm feeling it today. I'm like,
Yeah. And
the death
very
by calories is
rarely,
not gonna go well.
very rarely are we both in that position. Like somebody's going to burn it down, but it won't be both of us.
And we're doing something, we both just
Yeah.
do our own thing. Like if now she's running, now you're running, but she wasn't when she first started Linchpin. So she'd get on the bike and I would run and she
Yep.
would pick different weights and I have enough stuff out there that we can just pick our own thing, do our own, workout, scale it how we want to do it. We basically finish almost at the same time, just about every time, really.
Well done.
It's kind of cool. And it's just it's encouraging to have somebody. It's more fun to work out with somebody for sure. It's more encouraging and nobody cares what anybody else is doing. I mean, I don't care what she's doing and she doesn't care what I'm doing. And if I want to sprint outside and she wants to go on the bike or vice versa, then who cares?
100%.
So there's no
100%.
pressure. There's no pressure to be a hero or
That's
yeah,
smart.
I mean, it's a challenge. It's a challenge for me to, I think I was saying this before, to not scale when I say to myself, ugh, but back in 2016, I would have totally been doing handstand push-ups. And it's so, it's hard for me to do that, but I appreciate the permission from Linchpin community too. Like that was surprising to me. Like I wasn't really going to get involved because I thought I'm going to be the lamest one on this whole train,
Yeah, sure.
And then
Okay,
people start posting their scores, and I don't know anything about these people, but they're all over the place, right? And it's like, okay, well, I'm not the lamest, and I love the variety of people and the variety of fitness levels and what people are doing, and I
we got
think
everybody.
that's for sure. And it's hard to know when you're dealing online. It's like, well, who are these online people? Are they all the heavy hitters who I didn't really know what it was.
Yeah,
So
yeah, we've
that's
got
been
all
great.
walks of life, all ages, all ability levels, and yeah, we lucked out for sure. We lucked out. But I guess what would be in closing both of your recommendations for just maybe somebody watching or listening or a Lynch member sends this to their friend, who's
Mhm.
busy mom, I don't have any time or what, or it's overwhelming or scary, what would be your recommendations, your lessons learned?
You just gotta start. I mean,
Mhm.
for me, that's always the hardest part, is just starting and knowing that whatever you do is going to be better than if you
Than
did
nothing.
nothing.
100%.
Yeah.
Right.
And well, and I think with Linchpin in particular, it's like there's just so much as we were saying, there's so much permission to just do your own thing. And if you can't run, then do this. And if you don't have this, then do this. Um and there's so much support on the squads and the Facebook group to say, so many people post questions. Hey, I don't have this. What should I do? And you got your answer. So
Right.
Got a lot of smart people in there.
Really smart
Yeah.
people and people who are super elite, I would say. And
Right.
people who are super beginners, and
Absolutely.
everybody's getting a good workout. So
Very cool. Well, again, much appreciated for helping me make this happen. And it's
Sure.
kind of cool to
that was
hear
fun.
the two sisters working out together. That's some cool goals. I hope that happens with maybe my two boys or my kids live together, or close enough down, years down the road that they're still connected and working out. That's
Yeah.
pretty awesome. So again, thank you both very much.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Pat.